You are now
Yes.
unmuted.
Okay.
You are now muted.
Tell me when it's live so I can.
Just a quick question. Have we shared this in the COPs?
Yes, we already have that there, but if you want to, you can put the link. If, well, welcome everyone. I am Jael Ricciardi, and this is Unusual and Tell International. I work in the Coop. There is a software developed Coop from Argentina, Co-op, and the Coop is member of FACTTIC. So if this is your first time in our show and tell, I will tell you how it works. The first 30 minutes of the is for the presentation from our guest, and the next 30 minutes is for a Q&A section of the day. We'll be recording and broadcasting live in YouTube this talk, so please have your mic muted. And if you don't want to be recorded, please turn off your camera. If you have any questions for the section of QA, please send it by chat, and we will get to them in the second half of the talk. Our guests today are Matín Vallone of Fiqus and Santiago Botta of Cambá. They work along other co-ops in a tool called IA2. IA2 incorporates artificial intelligence and apply it in the anonymization process of judicial sentences in order to improve efficiency. So now I will pass the mic to them so they can present all this. Welcome, Matín and Santiago. So,
hi everyone.
We can start.
Sure. Well, hi everyone. Thank Yal for the introduction. Santiago and I, we are part of the team of IA2. Anonymization is a hard word, even in Spanish, so it's okay. We will probably say it not very well, but we'll try not to do it well. Well, as you can see, artificial intelligence is the main goal of this talk. We've been working in this tool for a couple of months, and actually, so I can give you a context of all of this. The origin of this application is when Cambá, Santiago is from Cambá, it's another cooperative of FACTTIC, started or participated in a hackathon. If you know what a hackathon is, it's a moment where people is just coding for a short period of time. Well, normally it's short, but maybe 10 hours coding with a main with goals or an objective. In this case, they participated in the Whose Lab. It's a hackathon where the idea was to create things, prototypes, related to 4 subjects, and the people from Cambá choose to work on anonymization of entities in legal judgments. After this, they created a prototype that was working pretty well for the time they had to build it. And thanks to that, Juzgado 10 or Court 10, as you can see in the slide, they saw this the work they've done, and they wanted to work with Cambá to implement this in Juzgado 10. Juzgado is just a legal institution that was needed to publish their legal judgments. So after that, they needed money. So they start finding fundings, and they found Empatia and Hilda that are two organizations related to this. Empatia, it's artificial intelligence for Latin America development, and ILDA, it's Open Data Latin American Institute. So thanks to that funding, they could create an MVP for this. In this first time was Liberajus, not AI2. So in this first stage, they created an MVP, or a prototype actually, with a limited roadmap, not such a robust model, and backend and annotation application. If I say something that you still don't fully understand, don't worry, because Santiago will explain a lot of this later. So with this funding, they could create a prototype. And after a while working on this, they realized that more knowledge was needed to expand the team and improve this MVP or prototype. So they realized that this tool that was created in a hackathon, just kind of playing, could be used in different institutions and could be a really useful tool. So they start thinking about extracting a product out of this. That's where AA2 appeared. So for this, it was needed to do a UI rework, a branded development, and with all of this, more knowledge, as I said, to get a more robust model, back correction, improvements of the application, and try to launch these and implement it in a court. The cooperatives building it are these, as you can see. We've been talking about Cambá. I would say that Cambá is the seed of this project. Thanks to them is why we are talking now. And they were after these fundings, they needed to expand the knowledge from areas that they weren't so into. So that's why they start sharing or talking about this project in FACTTIC. The FACTTIC is the Federation of Cooperatives where most of the parties are involved. That's where I'm part of Fiqus. We knew about this project, and we start talking about how could we participate in this project. So I had to say that the gender perspective ran through the project in some way. It's important to us that a cooperative made up of people who are usually excluded should be part of the project. So in this search, Cambá found ALT. ALT is the cooperative that you can see at the right bottom of the slide, this purple and green and gray logo. This cooperative is formed by transgender people, and they help labeling the initial datasets for the IA process taken from the judicial sentences. After that, then Santiago will tell you what is all of this labeling. So don't worry, not now. After that, they contact us, Fiqus and Nayra, because we have been working together with Fiqus and Nayra over the last year on this area in machine learning and AA. We took courses generated and AI and machine learning area in FACTTIC, and we work on small dummy projects together also. So we joined the team in order to expand the knowledge about this area. Then we have Maizal. Maizal is dedicated to communication in an integral way. Because of their great experience and unique vision, we we turned to them to work on the redesign of the identity from liberal hooks, this prototype created in the hackathon, to AA2, and the user experience of the application and the communication of the whole project. Actually, you can see how beautiful the UI or all the design is. So thanks to the people from Maizal. And finally, Eryx. Luckily, the logos of the cooperatives are with the names, so I don't need to point who is who. So Eryx collaborates providing advice about training and detection techniques for NLP due to their great expertise in this area. We also have some people from Eryx here in the chat or in the presentation. So we have, as you can see, we are cooperatives working together, not with the idea of competing, just trying to get the best solution for a problem one of the cooperatives found. So once I talked about all of these origins and cooperatives building it, Santiago, please, you can get into the technical issues.
Okay, thank you. Before entering in this technical field, I would like to say thanks to everyone. It's not my first time in Show and Tells, but it's my first time in this side of the speaker as a speaker. So I would like to thank everyone by their names: Matín, Nico, Hernan from Fiqus, Jose from Nayra, Sergio and Agustin from Eryx, Agustin and Cata from Maizal, and Ferencia, Charlie, Jose and Nico from Cambá. It's worth telling you that it feels nice to work with these people. I have a feeling that I'm working with friends and the relationship is good. So let's get into it. Why building a tool like this? Like Tincho, like Matín said, I'm sorry for that, the misdemeanor court number 10 of the Autonomous City of Buenos Aires is an institution that I need to thank to, because the judge and the people who work with him really helped us building this and getting into the domain specifics of this field. So why we build it? It seems that courts need to make their sentences public. So they need to bring anonymized sentences before they make them public. They need to promote transparency when declaring sentences. So lately, many courts aim to bring anonymized sentences to the public. It seems that this is the process we need to do. We learned that in some states, this kind of sentences publication is sort of obliged. They need to do that, but they don't have a tool. So this work is kind of manual, right? There's people that write down sentences and mark words that need to be anonymized on the fly. And that is something that takes a lot of time. So we aim to gain transparency and closeness to the citizens, but we also needed to reduce time and margin of error, like the slide says. So apart from transparency, if we can digitally process sentences like this, we should be able to organize, recognize portions of this text to tell whenever certain facts happen in a certain city or in a certain date, and that gives us some kind of information that in the future could make public politics happen. Like this is an important point that could make a change in a state, in a city, or in a country. I will talk about technically why this is happening. So we built A2 to not only make these sentences public, but for educational purposes. Like law students could make use of these anonymized sentences to learn how the process has been made. But we should be careful not to anonymize everything, because we could lose the real context of these sentences, and the final product could be not useful. So we should take care of data and personal data protection, but keep the context of the original sentence. And of course, if we are able to extract important information and organize them in a way that we can measure things like some sort of violence took place in a certain city or a certain date, and take an average of the age of the victims or the accused one, we can make a real change for the future of this state, city, or country. So developing this kind of tools we found out that it's not so easy. We have to think about a lot of things, but we will see that in a minute. I want to introduce you the circuit of the application. I'm going to make it really quick so that we can check out a demonstration with the application. But it seems important to tell you about these points where the application is doing. So we first want to upload a document, which is a sentence, mainly a criminal sentences. We work mainly with that because there are a lot of types of sentences, but we want to work with that one specifically in the first place. So then we would let the machine learning code or model work that document. And later we want to identify, correct, and see what the model was labeling. And later get an anonymized document out of it. If we are able to extract portions of that text, we can do some data visualization. I'm sorry for that if you can hear my dog is like unstable. I hope this doesn't make any trouble. So let's go for the demonstration. Just give me a second to open up the application. So here it is. It's an executable. I'm going to go step by step. So first of all, we would log in to the application. This is a simple validation to our authentication system. I'm going to use this demo account. And there we go. We're inside. So I tried to translate everything. I know some of you don't speak Spanish, but I'll do my best. So the first step is to upload the document, right? Carga de documento. And this is what I was telling you, the penal type of sentence. This is a criminal type of sentence. Let's think about it. And here's where we upload the document. There's nothing more interesting to tell about this. I will use a custom tailored document we used because there are certain kind of information in a real document that we don't want to expose. And that reminds me that I wanted show you the real document so that we get an idea of what it looks like. Here we can see, I hope you see, let's maximize this. This is just another docx document where here we have a header and some information about the court taking place in this sentence, a title. We can notice that here is some place in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a date. We can take a look at names of people, fake people, of course. This is a common name and surname in Argentina. And we can see numbers, 2,000 pesos, and the numeric form of that number. And a lot of information. A plate of a car brand. So this is just to let you know how it looks like. This is a 4-page document, but we work with more longer documents, like 100, and some of them are 150 pages. And that's a long document to process. But we choose this one so that the demo is quick, and it's just to get you familiar with the idea. So let's upload the document. While this is uploading, the document is now being processed by the artificial intelligence model. We use a mix of statistical model, which is the artificial intelligence, and some custom pipelines that we created that are just regular expressions and patterns that help us correct some portions of the text, and also detects some of them that we know that never change, right? Some things are written in the same way, at least in Spanish. So we make use of those patterns to make some predictions. So this is the second step. So the UI looks like this. There's a few instructions where you should select a label, which these ones are the labels. There are around 30 labels. We could work with more, but at this time we don't need more. Under it says, next you can eliminate or remove those, add labels, or correct the identified entities. The EA2 detects the labels and will make these two actions. Those labels colored with green are the ones that will be anonymized, and the ones in the yellow will not be anonymized. Why is that? Because of the context fact that I told you before. We might want to anonymize cities and names, but we wouldn't want to remove dates from this document. But why we label it? That's something I will tell you about in a bit. So we can see that there's a lot of entities labeled, portions of the text labeled. It means that they were recognized as an actuation number, location, date, numeric date, a person. This is a number. But the model not always predicts things as we want it to. We wouldn't want this number 10 to be a number for us because it's part of something bigger, that is an organization, but we won't get into that. I just want you to get the idea that some things that the model recognizes are not the ones that we want. So we need to correct them to tell the model that it should not recognize these things in the future and should recognize them as something else. So we will quickly add a few labels. For example, this is Ana Lopez wasn't recognized. So we're gonna label it with a person label. We will also use, I'll tell you about another example. So somewhere here, there's a bank account that we should anonymize, but we don't have a proper label for it. So the people in the court that is using this application should notice this and tell us about that. In the meantime, we can use this special label that just says that this is a text that should be anonymized, even though we don't have a label for it. So we just anonymize this number, which stands for some kind of bank account, and it's done. So this won't be useful for our training, but the final document won't have that sensitive information in its output. So I guess I'm done with this section. I hope you got an idea. Of course, we can answer any questions when we are done. Okay, so we go to the next step. This was revision or verification. While this is being verified, every time we make corrections, the system must distinguish detections made by the artificial intelligence model and those made by humans, because that gives us an important input to recreate datasets and retrain the model later. So we can see that in this screen, we have all the entities that took place in this sentence, not every label that we have, but just the ones that were involved in this sentence. And these are the ones that the model detected. This column references the false positives of the model. Here we can see the first number that I removed. And this one is the entities marked by a human. We can see the first person that I labeled. So this is pretty much it. This is just some sort of efficiency that we tend to use to know how our model is working. So there are a few buttons here. We can upload this sentence, this anonymized sentence, to Dropbox, to Drive, restart the process, or we can download it locally to see the changes. Let's go to my desktop. Here too, I have a folder for it in output. Let's overwrite this, replace it, and minimize this for a while. And here we have the original sentence. Just give me a second. And this is the another one. So here we can see the difference between them and those portions of the text that have been anonymized. Location, if we remember, this was labeled as a date, but we didn't anonymize them because it has a proper label for it that wasn't being anonymized. And well, we can see that the dates were removed. This date is kind of a special date because this is the date when the sentence was declared. These dates are part of the fact that was described in the sentence. I wanted to make that clear. Okay, so that was pretty much what we expected as an output document. I think we're ready to go to the next step. This application. Okay. So I've told you how the circuit was and how the demo was, and let's get to the technical details. So the desktop application is just a part of it. It's just another application made with Electron and React, that's JavaScript, in this case TypeScript. And why we choose this? Because we think that it's an easy technology to learn. It can be reusable to websites. If you want to apply this in a website, or it can be useful if you want to, why not, develop a mobile application. We could reuse those components. And well, this application directly communicates with a backend written in Django. And here's a fun fact, and that this Django server was inspired in another project made by a cooperative. So this is a trivia for the live chat. So which is that cooperative from the UK that knows how to take Django to the next level? So that is the cooperative we were inspired. And well, this backend uses some libraries that we implemented to do some changes in the final document. As you can see, the final document format wasn't being, how do I say it, modified. It's not a raw text, but we had to read the original document, find out those words, and just anonymize them. We don't output a raw text, but we do a treatment, special treatment to the original document using some libraries with the LibreOffice API. So the artificial intelligence model was created with Spacy, specifically using an Spanish model. It was a really difficult thing to find because some Spanish models weren't so successful in our search and in our search in this specific domain of courts and criminal sentences. We had to kind of tailor them and create our own training tools with special patterns to reach out our objective, our goal. And how these Spacy libraries run? Well, we want to implement asynchronous tasks when downloading documents, specifically when we anonymize them, because the longer a document is, the longer it will take, sadly. So we plan to use Celery with the retraining too, which will give us a kind of automation in the datasets creation, and later, why not, retraining that document. By the time we make corrections from the application on our recognized document, we may extract some portions of the document into another database, which we will eventually use to organize those values that we took. I can give you a few examples, like the city, a sentence took place, in which date, and if some kind of violence was involved in that sentence, like gender type violence, domestic violence, psychological violence, and some others. And we think that this is a start to a really good starting point to start matching those facts and get to know what's going on in the cities. And finally, we plan to use that database with special information into business intelligence systems like Metabase. So I hope this wasn't long. I would like everyone to have questions about this, because we are eager to tell you more about this. And I think we can go to the next step and talk about how we plan to improve this. Would you like to tell us more about this, Matín?
Sure. Thank you, Santi. So what's next, or the roadmap we planned? First of all, thanks to Courthouse 10 in Buenos Aires, all of this started to improve and grow. So the idea is to finally implement it in that institution. Of course, fine-tuning some things that still we are working on. Then we had the chance to talk with the Nuevo León judiciary in Mexico. So after a consultancy made, we thought about some features that could be useful to improve the regular flow of a court judgment. Few obstacles may arise, such as implement more complex APIs, or entities may not be the same. So I would say that working on any new environment need to be analyzed. It's not that you can use the model or the application, but we can be sure that it will work properly. We can talk about that later, or maybe if anyone has any question about that. But well, our idea is to improve the tool so it can be kind of generic and work with a lot of places or institutions all along the region, Latin America. Talking about retraining, as Santi said, we built the infrastructure of AA2 thinking about this. But the thing about retraining is that the model will learn if you give more data. But do we need to retrain the model every time? No, because it takes time. It takes effort, money, of course, always. So the idea of that is to retrain. Actually, retraining justifies doing so. So if the context changes, if the way sentences are written changes, or for other reasons. So we think that is necessary, but not yet. So we'll be working on that. Talking about images and data table anonymization, thanks to this consultancy made for the people in Mexico, we realized that there are images and tables that could be necessary to anonymize, since they show personal data. You could see a photo or a check in a judgment. So all of that should be anonymized. AA2 works with text, just with that, and you can imagine how complex is working just with text. And talking about images, it's another world, I would say, because it's really hard to identify sections of an image or a table to anonymize. So we maybe it's too big that, but well, it's the roadmap. It's just our imagination. We don't need to get into that right now. And finally, allowed to add suggestions to entities editor labeler. That's related to, again, to this consultancy made. In a flow where different areas are the ones that anonymize and the ones that validate such anonymization, it could be necessary that suggestions can be made in this regard and must be approved or rejected by those who will finally publish the judgment. So it's kind of a different flow. Actually, in Argentina, this is not implemented, but could be super useful to do it. So we had a lot of ideas talking about A2. Of course, not all of them can be done. So we hopefully find more fundings and more institutions that want to implement this application, and we will be able to work on all of this. Here you have our website and repository, code repository. I will leave you the links in the chat. As you can see, we are cooperatives. We love open source software and development. So that's why GitHub, actually, well, we can talk about the trivia Santi mentioned later, but we published all the things we've been working on in GitHub. The idea is not to, actually, yesterday was the launching for the region, and one person asked, what if a big company wants to use this or create a business out of this? What do you think? It's okay. Our idea is to generate knowledge, share it, and contribute to the society with beautiful and useful tools. So it's not a problem. Actually, the license for this is GPL free. You can check it, but anyone that wants to use this code should respect that. That's all what we want regarding code. And finally, I hope this keeps you entertained. Finally, we have questions and answers. Or Santi, if you want to, I know anyone knows about what Santi said, the trivia or the code that inspired to the Django server? You can answer in the chat.
We have a couple of questions, one from YouTube and one here. But I think no one in the chat say anything about the trivia. So we will not winning a washing machine or a car. So
you just lost $1 billion.
Oh, well, from YouTube, we have a question from Hernan that he wants to know, give me just 1 second, do you think that this version of the EITO works with document in English could be possible?
My turn?
Okay, I can answer that. Okay, some pieces of the software are reusable, but if we want to use this for sentences in English, we would have to use a model that is based in that language. This works with sentences in Spanish. So
okay.
The application can be used, but we would you would have to use a model in English and get it installed in a server in the backend, and
okay.
everything should work. Maybe you should do some labeling, tuning, or something, but the core of this thing is the model when we want to change the sentences language. Martin, to add anything, it's yours.
I have a follow-up question about this. You saying during the presentation that this is for all, it's planned to be for all Latin America to use in courthouses in Latin America. The labels that you have now are generic for all the region, or then if each country wants to use this tool, they have to add the labels of their court houses and everything.
Okay, I will give you. I would love not to be so technical, but maybe I need to. The way the model works is analyzing the context of a word. A word could be we can call it a token. So Spacey particularly analyzed 8 words surrounding this word, this token. So as you can see, in Argentina, we speak in a particular way. In Chile or Uruguay, or even in Argentina, in the different provinces, we speak differently. And talking about legal judgments, of course, are not breathed in the same way, not even in Argentina. So the context for every word could be different.
Okay.
That means that we need to, we are not 100% sure that it will work properly using sentences that are not breathed in the same way. Sadly, there's no regional rule for this, that everyone should write the judgments in a certain way. There is something called lenguaje claro, or clear language, and citizen language, trying to get something like that, a general agreement of how all of this should be written, but still they are still working on that. So it could work, but we are not 100% sure. And of course, there are different things, entities that could be that could exist in every place. For instance, in Mexico, they don't have a DNI or ID. They have a different thing to identify people in the country. So there are some entities that are truly specific for every place.
Yeah,
that's the hard part of implementing this application in different parts of the world, I would say, even Spanish speakers.
Okay. Yes. For example, in Uruguay, they use cédula. They don't have a DNI.
That's an Uruguayan dog. That's why.
Yes. He's trying to talk with Santi's dog. Sorry, it's Ernesto.
Yeah, she got it.
Okay, we have 2 more questions from Maya in the chat, and I think that she responds to the trivia. It says Spuddy. No? Okay. Keep participating, Maya. Sorry. The first question is, what's the need of labeling data that you don't want to anonymize?
Okay, I can take it. So that's a good question. That happened a lot with clients. Why are we labeling this if it's not going to be anonymized in the final document? That's why we need to label almost everything, or at least those kind of words or entities that we want the model to keep reminding, right? If we want to retrain a model, we would want the data sets to retrain a model not to lose the original context, or at least parts of the context. If we don't label, let's say, numbers, if we don't miss numbers, the model might forget that this is a context where numbers matter. And numbers may be part of an anonymized entity, like maybe an amount of money or a measure like 154 meters long. Maybe that's something that could be anonymized in the future, but we should anonymize. I'm sorry. We should label stuff that we want to use then to retrain a model, so that this model doesn't forget the context of these kind of sentences.
Thank you. And there is a second question. No, not here. Sure. Second, do you use those labels of miscellaneous types, for example, on the bank account, to retrain the model? I think that you just answered that, or only with the standard types.
Well, talking about the model, there are, I would say, 2 parts of the application in talking about the machine learning area: the model and some rules or matchers to identify entities. We need to get a balance first. Well, we never clarify this, but ALT, the cooperative, what we use in this case is what is called supervised learning. What does it mean? That is, the model will learn if we show to the model something and we give an answer to that. For instance, I show you a photo of a cat, and I say, this is a cat. I show you a photo of a dog, and I tell the model, this is a dog. That's how it learns. So I'll create or label all these judgments in order to mark a part of or a couple of words and say what it is. That's how it learns. So that's why we use as a feedback all what the people or the person who is validating the text, the document, anonymized document. For that, we use all of that to keep training the model. But as we said before, there's no need to retrain the model all the time, because if it costs a lot of money, time, and you could also not generate such an improvement to what it is implemented now. So you need to be careful about all of that. Talking about the rules, or it costs a lot to retrain a model, but to generate more rules, no. So you could use these rules to correct or improve the data that it's an input for the model. So that's why we try to to get all of that data and get into the system again. Did I answer, or I just talk about a lot of things at the same time?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Sometimes it's quite to explain something, you need to talk about a lot of other things at the same time. So sorry.
Of course. And my question was very technical. Thank you.
You're
welcome. Well, thanks, Matín and Santi and Maya. I have one more question from YouTube, and it's from Gabriel, and he says, "Thanks for sharing. I have one question. Why do you choose an open source model, and how do you prevent large companies to start working on your project and start selling your work to others?" I think that when you finish the presentation, Matín, you talk a little bit about this, but maybe you can expand on that.
Yes. Well, I think we already answered that because some other person asked that yesterday. We weren't present during the presentation, but why we choose open source code? I would say that it's part of our identity as a cooperative. Sharing knowledge is part of what we are. Why to keep everything private? It's just a question that we should make to ourselves. If we keep private all of that, I think we put obstacles in the way to get better projects and solutions to the problems we do have now. So open source, because it's part of the way we work as people, getting into new knowledge, sharing it, or asking to people who we know that knows about a lot of things. I know if you, Santi, want to add something about maybe the GPL3 or...
Yeah. No, I was going to say just this is, we are doing this for transparency. So what's more transparent than a project that mainly its server is open sourced, and you know where your information is going on and what kind of information is being stored in a database. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it triggers me. Oh, sorry.
No, just that.
Yeah, it triggers me that actually something that is super important in talking about AI and machine learning and all of that is fairness. It's a concept that is super important, because it could be, for instance, if, well, no, I won't get to that area, but well, fairness means that data should be transparent. You should give the rights of your information to the one who is using it, and to see what is going on with your information. So what's better to have open source code that you can see what is going on with all of that. It's just a matter of being fair with ourselves, because a lot of industries are earning money out of our information. That's not the idea.
The supervised training that you talked about is also transparent. That's what fairness walks along. So, and Matín mentioned about the license, and well, we always hope to open source our products so that the community can help us grow this product. And of course, we are helping the community to use it and appropriate it as their own piece of software.
Okay. Well, we don't have any more questions from the viewers. I have a question. I want to know the answer to the trivia. Can you share that information, or we can leave it for the next show and tell?
Go ahead, Santi.
Oh, that is the Developers Society. Such a great cooperative we worked with. So we are proud of them. In my opinion, I learned a lot working with them.
Well, thank you, Matín and Santiago, for sharing all this great work that you have done, along with Nayra, Eryx, and Maizal, and Alt Cooperative. We are very proud of from FACTTIC and from Maizal to be of your work. I think that is very important for the justice to label these things, and as Santi said, to then add labels to know what kind of crime was, if it was what kind of violence or everything was involved. That will give us a lot of information for things that are going in our society that we cannot see or know so clearly. So thank you for all the hard work that you do as a team, and thanks also to all your teammates. I think we have something in the chat. Okay, so they have all. Thank you for their thanking to you and to us for all this. Any closure, something to say?
Thank you, everyone, for your patience, actually, because we know that it's an interesting subject and area, but sometimes it's a bit far from what we normally know. It's important, more than the project, to realize that we are sharing information all the time and talking about legal issues. It is important to be transparent. I hope you enjoy the talk. I hope we were clear talking about all of this, and please feel free to contact any of the cooperatives that participated in this project so we can talk more about this.
Yes, I want to thank, I'm sorry, Michael. I just want to thank all the cooperatives that helped us building this thing and working along intercooperatively. It was really, really nice for me. I found great things.
Okay. I want to say, as a node development, as a node as a not a developer, I understand most of the things that you say. So it was really clear for you to ease your minds about that. So thanks again to be part of our show and tell, and for all the viewers and the persons that are here in Big Blue Button. The next show and tell would be in April with ACD. It will be in Spanish, and now we would put information here for you to know everything. So thank you, everyone, and see you the next show and tell.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.